Kotlin Multiplatform allows your team to share code between platforms in a very flexible way. Sharing code with Kotlin Multiplatform can make your team more efficient and allow you to create better quality code and applications. Kotlin Multiplatform is a technology for iOS developers too, allowing them to use shared code and ideally even write shared code alongside other developers. Kotlin Multiplatform does not have to be used flat out from the start of the project. Its use can be scaled in gradually, even in existing projects. And Kotlin Multiplatform is a team decision and is a team activity. Your team needs to decide how much to share and how much iOS developers participate in creating the share code. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Hope you had a great lunch. Let me introduce myself. My name is Artem Alkov, and I work at Kotlin Native. I am a software engineer, and I will talk to you about Kotlin Multiplatform today. But I have a small confession to make. I am not a really compiler engineer. I'm actually an iOS engineer for almost all of my career. I started back in 2012. As iOS engineer, I worked as iOS developer for 10, 12 years. I've actually lost count at some point. Back in 2018, I started to be curious about Kotlin Native as a technology, made a couple of talks, and actually I had to switch my job because I was so curious about it. In 5 years, we adopted Kotlin Multiplatform from the very beginning, from a single REST API endpoint to the full-fledged multi-platform first development process. And here I am today to actually share my experience, to talk about the myths and realities of the actual living with Kotlin Multiplatform. But first thing first, who knows the answer to the question? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, many. Good enough. And who actually uses any solutions to share their code in production? Good enough. Like a third of the people uses something to share their code. And who of you chose Kotlin Multiplatform for that? Nice. Kate, I hope you are writing down those who didn't raise their hands. We need to talk to them a little bit more. Given the fact that most of the people still don't use Kotlin Multiplatform, I will answer that question. So basically, Kotlin Multiplatform is a technology developed by JetBrains. We allow development teams to share common code between platforms. And the beauty of it is that we do not dictate what you share or don't share. Kotlin Multiplatform is actually a spectrum. You can choose what you want to share, what you don't want, where you want to be with it. And the main question for anything that allows you to share your code between platforms is what platforms do you actually support? And there are lots of them. You can do server, mobile, desktop, web, almost anything you want. I, as a native engineer, do even see some tickets in our U-Track about embedded development. But to be honest, that's some kind of crazy case for us. Before Kotlin Multiplatform, what your typical code base looked like. You had different repositories for iOS, Android, desktop, and you had to write all the layers from scratch, like UI, presentation, business, domain, data core. Lots of code. You all know that code, and I hope you prefer not to duplicate yourself and write things once. With introducing of sharing business logic, you were allowed to share the data in core. You were allowed to share your business and domain. Some experiments showed that you even can share your presentation logic, like presenters, view models, controllers, what is the current most famous and most popular MVVM nowadays. And with the introduction of Compose Multiplatform, it became possible even to share UI with Kotlin. So basically what I'm telling you is that you can share anything, any piece of code, any line that you can imagine, you can share between any platforms you have. Actually, there should be a fourth square with the web, but let's not talk about it. Let's focus on our actual iOS, Android, and desktop. And leave only platform-specific code developed natively. How do we do that? Basically, Kotlin as a language has four different backends that will compile your Kotlin code to different platforms. And those platforms are JVM, Wasm, JS, and LVM, actually. Kotlin native is a backend written on top of LVM, and it will compile your Kotlin code into as native binary as possible. And that native binary, it can be .framework, .exe framework. Actually, it's just .a file with the Objective-C header underneath it. So yeah, continuing with the marketing stuff. Wait for it. We are coming to the actual meat of the talk. What are the benefits of Kotlin Multiplatform? Shared code ensures consistency among platforms. I don't know how you guys, but during my career, I was tired of the bugs. The Android developers sorted the search results in one way, the iOS developers sorted it in another way, and on the next day, backend introduced a flag for the search, and no one knows why the two platforms behave differently anymore, and it takes days or even weeks to find who is at fault here. Kotlin Multiplatform actually, any solution to share code actually solves that problem. You're actually running single logic between every target you have. Kotlin Multiplatform, as any other shared solution, actually lowers the effort and the cost per feature. When we introduced Kotlin Multiplatform, we were able to increase our throughput of features greatly. Time to market didn't change. The amount of time needed to develop each one feature stayed exactly the same, because you need to develop it, you need to test it, you need to ship it. But because now only one developer writes the shared code, we were able to increase the throughput of those features. Actually, I a little bit lied here, because the consistency between platforms reduces the amount of bugs that we had during development. And that allowed us to a little bit cut the costs, so like 15–20%. Not much, but good enough. And most importantly, it improves team collaboration. Now we don't have the Android and the iOS teams that fight each other and telling that we did the thing right, now we did the thing right. Now they are building the common thing from ground up. And all other common cross-platform solution benefits, but they're all the same, almost. But what makes Kotlin Multiplatform actually different from everything else? The first myth, the zero myth. Cross-platform frameworks always compromise performance and native experience. What's it? Other cross-platform frameworks? And yeah, you may be surprised, but there are actually a lot of different things you can try. There's React Native, Flutter, and there was lots of stuff that came before and even still exists, like Cordova, Qt, Xamarin, and everything else. But what separates Kotlin Multiplatform from all of them? If you look closely, almost every single solution that's on the slide brings a different virtual machine on your device. It tries to execute their code in JavaScript environment, or execute their code in Dart environment, or .NET environment, you name it. One exception, Qt. Qt was a great solution, except for one part. It was C++. Show of hands, who want to write C++ 2025? One person, two person, three. Wait, stop. The point was another one. So yeah, Kotlin Multiplatform allows you to write your common code in more of a In environment, you already know how to write. It's a modern language, but for the JVM, it integrates nicely with JVM targets, and for native target, it integrates nicely with the stuff we have on our platforms, like Objective-C libraries, C libraries, C++ libraries, just because we are built on top of LLVM, and we can interop with them really nicely. Sorry, I was talking about that slide already. True native performance. Because we are built on top of LLVM, our compiler compiles the code as natively as possible. We are as close to the hardware as we possibly can. That also allows you to share your code flexibly. As I said, Kotlin Multiplatform is a spectrum. You can choose to share only one function, or you can choose to introduce a single function of native code into your code base. And that's really nicely. And also another cherry on top is that platform capabilities without overhead. Because we are LLVM based, we can interop with platform libraries without any additional work. You just give us the new Xcode and the new header from the Xcode, and we will understand what changed in UI kit, generate new bindings for you, and you are good to go. No need to wait for another new release that will fix some problem or introduce new view, new wrapper for the new view from the UI kit. And here I am talking about UI kit in 2025. How many of you guys using Swift UI currently? More than Kotlin Multiplatform. Okay. And yeah, gradual adoption, as I said, Kotlin Multiplatform is a spectrum. So, reality, Kotlin Multiplatform allows you to share code without compromises on app quality. Myth number one. Number two, but we started from zero, so number one. Kotlin Multiplatform is a niche technology. And for that, I just have one marketing slide. That's the companies that step forward and really told the world that they are using Kotlin Multiplatform. They talked to us. They even left some interview on our site describing what they did and what the benefits of Kotlin Multiplatform. Those are pretty huge companies, pretty huge names with pretty huge teams. If you want to know more about them, go to our KMP case studies. There's a bunch of them where you can read them in details. Please do not photograph any slides. All the links will be at the end for your convenience. Myth number two. Kotlin Multiplatform is a technology for Android developers. And yeah, I can understand the fear. I can understand the fear of coming into the room and everyone speaks like different language from you. They are not saying let, they're talking about vals. They have shared intentions, fragments, activities. For the love of God, give me my UI view controller back. But what does it mean for technology to be actually built for Android developers? Actually, it's a myth just because the Google at some point decided to adopt and support Kotlin and Kotlin Multiplatform as their main technology. Kotlin started as a replacement for the JVM. Kotlin has a lot of user base on the JVM. Kotlin native can run on your backends, and there are people that are switching Kotlin JVM to Kotlin native on their backend just by compiling it a little bit different. And there are lots of people that are building Kotlin for their iOS applications. Kotlin is the general purpose language. It was built originally as a general purpose language. And there's not a single feature in the language that is built and designed specifically for Android developers or mobile developers. The same way as Swift, actually. It's also a general language. So, do iOS developers find Kotlin Multiplatform useful, or do they contribute to the shared code? Let me just return to the marketing section and read out loud some of the citations. Now that we are working in a shared code base, we collaborate more across platforms. Ben Asher said as an iOS developer from Autodesk. Quizlet, Android, iOS, and backend engineers are more eager to write and maintain code written in Kotlin rather than JavaScript. Akusha Gupta, staff software engineer at Quizlet. And well, I do understand the idea not to writing JavaScript. iOS engineers contribute to the shared code just as actively as Android engineers, enhancing team productivity and strengthening collaboration between teams, said representative from the meetup. Our last survey of Kotlin user group showed that almost 60% of team that adopted Kotlin Multiplatform in almost 60% of teams that adopted Kotlin Multiplatform, the iOS developers contribute to Kotlin code. But as you can see, not all of them contribute as equally as Android developers. As I said, Kotlin is a spectrum, and you don't have to contribute to Kotlin. You don't have to switch to the being Kotlin multi-platform engineer. You can just stay as you were Swift engineer if you want. If you don't want, you can. Myth number 3. My workflow will become more complicated and disrupted. And actually, I can feel this pain. But I understand the fear. I understand the exhaustion of learning new tools. Just because what in the last 5 years we received SPM, the Cocoa Pods were closed, the Swift UI introduced Swift UI turned out to be not so great at some point, and you sometimes still have to go to UI Kit. Then they fixed Swift UI, but not on the latest iOS, or not on the iOS you were using. Yeah, there is a lot to learn. For those of you who learned Objective-C, remember learning Swift. But you actually don't have to learn. As I said before, Kotlin Multiplatform is a spectrum. And iOS developer can simply just consume a library that is built previously, shared to you through your Artifactory or Cocoa Pods or SPM or whatever you prefer to share your code, share your libraries with, and just be done with it. I actually have an example for that. We, at my previous company, at some point decided that our neighborhood team should have some of the features that we are having, but they did not embrace Kotlin Multiplatform as their reality. And we just built the features that we wanted to share with them as a single XC framework, shipped it to them, and they had not a single new tool installed. They just continue working as it was. Just the business received a couple new features on another application, like in time of a week, maybe less, to set up all the integrations. So yeah, and even if you want to try it, if you want to start digging into Kotlin and start writing Kotlin as multi-platform, there are actually only a few tools you have to install. Basically, IntelliJ IDEA brings most of them out of the box directly to you. And yeah, IntelliJ IDEA, not Android Studio, but you don't have to use Android Studio to work with Kotlin multi-platform. Another fear is, will I get productive with new tools quickly? And I don't know. Honestly, it depends on you, on your learning curve, and so on. But what I can say is that the moment I started working as a Kotlin multi-platform engineer, my perspective of development changed. I learned a lot. I learned new tools. I was forced to learn terminal at some point. The same way as if you try to set up the CI/CD, you were forced to learn Bash, Python, Ruby, for the love of God. And yeah, the more you learn, the better developer you became, from my point of view. So yeah, it's. Think about it not as a waste of time, but as an investment. Try to understand why things were built differently. And actually, we at JetBrains spent a lot of time to actually build the best user experience, dev experience there possibly can be built. we are trying to integrate debuggers from every single target we can into our IDE. We are trying to build integration with simulators and so on, so on. So yeah, let me repeat myself again. You don't lose your flow. You don't lose the knowledge you had. You gaining a new skills when you are trying multi-platform development. One of the most important parts is that you start to understand how another platform works, what decisions they had to make, what trade-offs you had on the iOS you didn't even know about before. Just a sec. So, myth number 4. Oh, I love this one. Kotlin produces a non-idiomatic Swift API. I haven't mentioned that before. I work at a team that works on Swift Expert. And they can talk about interops a lot. But for those questions, please come to the booth after the talk. Today will be just a short version of how it works today, not the future. So, how does it work? The decision to be based on Objective-C export was made back in 2018. Back in 2018, the Swift was not as stable as it is today. The Objective-C was there. Objective-C was dominant on the iOS code bases, and it was the correct decision at the moment. All the things that I just said. Kotlin currently does not directly interoperable with Swift. It's interoperable with the Swift through the Objective-C bridge. We provide you a library that has a .h file as a header, and it describes the Kotlin world in Objective-C interface. That's temporary, but still. And that actually explains a lot the quirks of current export, the quirks of what you actually can see. Some features can be translated to Objective-C directly and work as expected. But some have workarounds. Some have third-party solutions, and some doesn't work optimally, and some features doesn't work at all. For example, generics on interfaces cannot be represented in Objective-C. There's no such concept. The sum types, there's no such concept as sum types on the Objective-C. Suspend functions, and so on. But actually, that's the problems that's already solved. The community did a lot of work solving those problems. There's a great site, Kotlin Swift Enteropedia. It describes in detail how one language translates to another, both to Objective-C and to Swift result translation. Yada. Gives a look around. Also it mentions, shows to you how you can avoid the common pitfalls. And there's even a playground app with runnable samples. There's the short link. As usual, the links will be on the last slide. Also, the last year on KotlinConf, my colleague Pamela showed a great talk, KMP Swift Gold. She talked about what actual actionable points should you do with your code base to have as idiomatic API as possible. What Kotlin features should you avoid to receive the best you can get? So yeah, my point is that for a perfect Kotlin API surface through the Objective-C, the teamwork is required. Again, Kotlin Multiplatform enforces you to talk to your colleagues, enforces you to make some decisions, so Kotlin API can be as idiomatic as you want it to be. And but the actual Swift Expert tool, we are working on it right now. It's a work in progress. You can actually try it. We demonstrated it last year on KotlinConf. There are some docs and samples in our main repository, come to my talk at KotlinConf this year, where we'll show in details how and why does it work and why the hell it takes so long. Here's a sample for the Swift Expert in the current state. And let me I was actually a little bit anxious. Would we be able to see the code? So yeah, this is the current state of our export with some third-party solutions. Our main problems, our main complaints were always that some types are not supported. And as you can see over there, we are switching over some type as just through any other Swift enum. There's a special call to suspend function that we're just calling suspend functions. It's really nice. Currently, all the main major pain points are actually solved. You can actually see this on our slides at the booth, and we can actually show you how to build this yourself, how to set up your project with that will provide such nice interop between languages. So yeah. Reality number 4, Swift APIs are possible with teamwork and right tools. So yeah, don't hesitate to Google your problems and you will be fine. Myth number 5, sharing UI feels icky. Icky. And that's part where I talk about Compose Multiplatform. As I said before, we do not force you to even use Kotlin on UI layer. There's a special library, Compose, that replaces basically, it's a mirror to Swift UI, basically. If you wanted to share UI, you can. You can use Compose Multiplatform for that. By default, you can share only business logic. But if you decided to share the code through the Compose Multiplatform, there are lots of things I can say. First of all, many companies prefer that of their own brand. They prefer to forgo of the human interface guidelines from Apple. They prefer to forgo the default interface elements from the Apple and write their own stuff. The most known example of that, surprisingly, Google, with their G Suite. The G Suite for the last year on Kotlin Conf was announced they are migrating to Kotlin Multiplatform, and well, they're still using the Android UI and feel. So yeah, if you want as a business to switch to something else, you can. But Kotlin Multiplatform Compose Multiplatform does not force you to go all in. You can choose what you share and what you don't. You can, for example, have your table view that is written in Compose just because who wants to write another table view, but the content of it can be AV Foundation from the AV Foundation player for the native look of the player, for the native feel of the player, and for the performance of the player. Another example, you can share only the boring screens, like login screen, the settings screen, the stuff that's you just did it once and forget about it. The stuff that is not really complicated, and put all your times and all your effort into the stuff that you want to put it. You can mix and match, basically. Performance of Compose Multiplatform is not on par with native iOS UI. Performance is fine for the most use cases, and stable version brings even more improvements. But basically, what I want to say is that performance usually is not about the actual framework, but how you can use it. For example, I can write some code that will make UI table view work at 16 FPS instead of 60. I can do the same for the Compose, I guess. But yeah, for the most cases, if you are not shooting yourself in the foot actively, performance is fine. For the cases when performance is not fine, again, you can switch to native views. It's not that hard to mix and match them on the UI layer. And again, our last survey. Yeah, most of the people are satisfied with the performance of their Compose application. So what I'm trying to say here is that KMP does not force a UI approach. It adapts to your design needs. If you have a really nice application with smooth animations and you have an iOS engineers that love UI layer, you can just not share any UI at all. If you have a really business-heavy application or really data-heavy application and you just don't care about UI layer, you can go all in and go to Compose. Or you can mix and match, find your solution, find your correct proportions that will serve you and your users and your business. Myth number 6, adopting Kotlin multi-platform means that there's no more Swift. The actual fear sounds like that. And let me tell you a story. But in my 5 years of developing Kotlin multi-platform in a team, we had one engineer. He was really great at UI level. He loved his animations. He loved his tables and moving the buttons. And he was happy that we introduced Kotlin multi-platform. His workflow didn't change at all. He didn't install any new tool. He continued to work in Xcode. He continued to work in UI layer, but because the logic was written by the Kotlin guys, he was able to go all in on the UI layer. He was really happy. And his team lead was happy because finally the team lead had a happy developer. And yeah, the business was also happy because our application got really much better at the UI level layer. There was another developer. She was really hardcore developer. She actually had the PhD in mathematics, and she enjoyed building robust systems. She enjoyed building performance systems. And with her, we spent a couple of days setting up the whole environment, explaining to her how Kotlin works, so on and so forth. And she just started in a week or so after reading a book about Kotlin, writing the same robust performance code, but in Kotlin, but for 2 applications instead of 1. And yeah, again, she was happy, her team lead was happy, and the business was happy. And I was happy also because, yeah, Kotlin multi-platform got some more adoption. And there was a third developer like I that decided that at that point, I developed the build CI pipelines, and it was a mixture of Python, Ruby, Bash, and you name it. And I was so tired of it that I rewrote this whole mess into a single Kotlin script, and it became really nice. So yeah, as I said, Kotlin multi-platform is a spectrum. You can go however hard you want, but yeah, it's your choice. I will not be able to develop new features as fast in Kotlin as I used to in Swift. And yeah, again, I will tire your ears. Today, Kotlin multi-platform is a spectrum. You can choose however gradual approach you want to do. For example, the code base I'm talking about, it was what, like 500,000 lines of code, not so big, not so small, and the tech lead of our code base actually did not care about Kotlin multi-platform. He wanted to support the solutions that he had built already, and it was a huge mix of Objective-C, Swift, and it was a complicated code base. And he was actually also happy just because the adoption of Kotlin multi-platform released some new resources for him. There were people that could have been rerouted to actual refactoring of the old code bases to actually solve the technical debt that we were struggling with, just because we had some new resources allocated, freed up. So yeah, spending time to learn Kotlin is a waste of time for my career. And 2 points. First of all, as I said before, learning new tools is not a waste. Learning new tools changes how you perceive things. It teaches you about trade-offs. It teaches you how the other parts of the world work, what other people think about, and what they are actually doing. And the other point is that Kotlin is very approachable for Swift developers. I believe the first time I learned Kotlin was I just opened the IDE and I just started typing Swift code, and the compiler shouted at me. I fixed the problems from the compiler, and yeah, that was it. Really fast. I would not recommend. Come to us at our booth, and we will recommend some books for you and some tutorials that do a better job than errors from the compiler. But it's also possible. The languages are really similar in their syntaxes. And yeah, all the interesting parts will be developed by other guys in Kotlin, and I will do only UI layouts. You know what I will say. Kotlin is a what? No one shout. Yeah, yep, it's a spectrum. So your team actually decides what part will be shared and who works on what. It's a spectrum actually on 2 or 3, even 3 axes, because one axis is how much Kotlin Multiplatform will be in your personal project, how much interaction the iOS team will have with the shared code, and your personal interaction with that shared code. As I said, you can not touch Kotlin at all, or you can go all in if you want. So yeah, my main point is that Kotlin Multiplatform expands what you can do. You will not forget the Swift. It will come to you in flashbacks, in your dreams. So yeah, I would like to repeat my main points. Key takeaways. Kotlin Multiplatform allows your team to share code between platforms in very flexible way. Sharing code with Kotlin Multiplatform can make your team more efficient and allow you to create better quality code and applications. Kotlin Multiplatform is a technology for iOS developers too, allowing them to use shared code and ideally even write shared code alongside other developers. Kotlin Multiplatform does not have to be used flat out from the start of the project. Its use can be scaled in gradually, even in existing projects. And Kotlin Multiplatform is a team decision and is a team activity. Your team needs to decide how much to share and how much iOS developers participate in creating the share code. Thank you for your attention. Meet us at the booth. We are right down on the corridor. Yeah, we have some demos, some games, and coming back tomorrow, we will have completely different activities tomorrow and completely different demos. We will even have a little thing with AI that developed JetBrains and not actual Kotlin team. Yeah. Here's my email. If you have any questions that you remembered like in a week or so. Here's the promised links. Now you can take pictures. And yeah, now I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. We have a couple of minutes for some Q&A.